Welcome to our Industry 4 webinar series. Welcome to our webinar, to our Industry 4 webinar series. My name is Amir Benassa, and I'll be your host for today. Basically, this webinar series is all around innovation, how advanced manufacturing could use innovation and advanced tools in order to ramp up your production. We'll touch on a variety of topics. Today's topic is around production scheduling, whereas our next webinar on the series will be around how to perform efficient material receiving and time-sensitive material management in the age of Industry 4. And we will cover a numerous of very interesting topics. Basically, this webinar series is brought to you by Plataine. Plataine offers industrial AI and IoT-based optimization solutions for advanced manufacturing. And today here with me is David Twito. David is basically our expert for production scheduling, bringing many years of experience in the industrial sector. David has been helping manufacturers to meet their manufacturing goals and KPIs while optimizing planning and manufacturing execution.
Thank you, Amir, for the introduction. Actually, I'm very glad to kickstarting this webinar series. I'm looking forward for today's demo and the next event in the series as well.
Thank you, David, and thanks for joining. So here's our agenda for today. We'll start with some recent industry challenges and trends. We are meeting with a lot of manufacturers, and we would like to share with you some of those challenges and trends. Then we'll touch on how planners work today and whether this is enough or we need to think about innovation and new tools that could be implemented in order to help manufacturing execution and the factory throughput. Can AI help? We hear a lot about AI with ChatGPT and with other tools, whether AI can help planners and schedulers, and basically we'll try to answer that question in our webinar. We'll showcase a customer case study, and David will present that, followed by a demo, and then we'll leave enough time for a Q&A. So just a few guidelines before we get started. We encourage you to submit your questions. You will be muted, so please use the Q&A button, the Q&A box. This is on the bottom of your screen, the Zoom toolbox. And make sure to submit your questions as we go. Towards the end, we will leave 10 or 15 minutes to answer all your questions. So when we're talking about industry trends, we see here a very peak in aircraft orders. We see it in other industries as well. This is an example from aerospace manufacturing, but if we're reading the manufacturing magazines, if we're talking to customers, there's definitely a very high level, even the highest level since 2015, with increasing demand. A lot of customer order, a lot of products and aircrafts that needs to be built. And basically, this is what we hear, not only for the magazine, but also from our customers. David, would you like to share your point of view on
actually,
that?
we just returned from a visit to the UK, and this is the first thing that we heard from all of the customers that we visited. They're ramping up the scale, the new scale that they need to achieve, sometimes even 50 and 60% increase in their demand.
So the next one we hear is labor shortage. A lot of the people went on furlough, early retirement. Some of the experienced staff went on retirement. And it's really a challenge to hire people, to train them. And basically, the aerospace and defense and other industries, other sectors, we can see that basically experienced staff is of short. And we will touch in today's webinar, how can we help the employees, the staffs, the operators to better execute, to make the most of their time, to focus on rather production work rather than filling up papers and dealing with things that are not productive. And we'll touch on that topic as well.
Exactly, be more efficient and make better use of what you have, the stuff that you have, the materials that you have, the tools that you have.
Another piece I would like to share with you from Reuters is the supply chain disruptions. Obviously, the industry recovered very nicely from COVID, but we still sense and we still experience supply chain disruptions. If in the past we would wait for material 2 or 4 weeks, then today the input that we're getting from our customers and from the manufacturers that we meet on a weekly basis is that now material lead time could reach 2 months, 4 months,
even 24 weeks.
And you know, that puts really a threat to the production rates that we would like to achieve. Now, some companies would gather inventory and would stock up, but that puts some burden on their costs. Either way, it puts a lot of risk on the business, and we'll see how we can optimize that when you're making your planning and scheduling. So to summarize today's challenges, I'll just cover those top 5. Meet the demand for increased products and aircraft orders. This is the first one. Supply chain disruptions, we mentioned that. Skilled labor shortage, it's very difficult to quickly respond to changes on the shop floor. Basically, first-time quality, those rework and parts that are produced and later on discovered with a quality problem is killing the profitability, is killing the margins. And today, top manufacturers put it in their first priority to make it first time right, to make sure that this rework is minimized or eliminated where this is possible. And the last one is on-time delivery, which basically is kind of, you know, very similar to meet the demand, right? If you ship your products on time, then obviously you met your demand. So those two are actually linked together. So we covered the challenges. Let's see what are those industry trends. Plataine meets a few hundreds of manufacturers almost every year, and we gathered a lot of the industry trends. I'd like to share it with you today. The first one is a lot of emphasis and focus on gathering data analytics, machine learning, and basically trying to make something out of it, not only to gather the data, but to analyze it and to make the recommendations and the required changes based on that. Adoption of agile manufacturing methods, we hear it all the time, quickly respond to changes, changing condition, customer needs. Manufacturing facilities must be much more agile. They don't have the luxury to just produce one product at high volumes, but rather adapt to the changing demand. Use digital twins to simulate production processes. Everything is becoming more and more digital. If we are seeing paper, then factories are trying to eliminate that and move everything to the digital twin space and basically to digitize their entire factory. Integration of Industry 4 technologies, such as AI, production scheduling, things that used to be done with the minds of the schedulers are not sufficient enough, and people are seeking for tools to work together with the professional staff and the planners and the operators so that production will be more efficient. And last but not least, moving towards more flexible and adaptable schedules that are easily could be changed and reflect the change in demand. So this is basically what we see in terms of industrial trends. And next on our topic is basically how planners are working today. And I would like to point this question to you, David. Please elaborate on that and tell us whether you think this should be enough, or with the challenges that we saw previously, there is time for a little bit of a change.
Yeah, thank you for that question. It's a great question. Actually, it's part of any research that we do when we come to visit a new customer. And we've seen many factories and plants, talk to a lot of production planners and production managers, and it always comes down to this basic routine. In order to plan and schedule your workload for the next week or the next 2 weeks or even a month, you have to do these steps. And the first step is to gather your data. Basically, you gather it from your ERP, from your papers that you're working with. Sometimes you have to walk down the shop floor and actually go to the department leader and ask them what is going on in the shop floor, because you published this week plan last week, and you have no connection to what is going on. You're simply in the dark. And then you start to see what is finishing, what is on track, and based on that, you can start and plan for next week. This process usually takes a day or two just to gather the data, because sometimes factories can be big and you have to walk to the shop floor and to the departments. And the next step would be to sit with your department leaders and try to distribute the workload between them. And again, you are affected by they dictating the rhythm. They choose what they can do and what they can take and what they can perform for next week or for the next horizon. Again, all of this is done manually on papers or on Excel spreadsheets. And after you accomplished it, you need to distribute it to the shop floor, again, via Excel, via email, via papers. And again, you lose touch with your plan once you send it away. So the entire process can take between 2 to 3 days just to accomplish a plan for the next week.
Okay, gotcha. So 3 days where the planners have to go to the shop floor, ask the team leaders and the department leaders what is the progress, understand what needs to be scheduled for next week, and then work with their Excels and put up with the plan, and then they print it and put it back to the operators in each station.
Exactly.
Okay.
With AI software and automatic software, we're basically eliminating the discovery, the walking down the shop floor, all the preliminary tasks that the planner needs to do, because everything is in the software, in the system. You don't need to discover anything. Everything is already there. You just start planning for next week with the data that is already there. You simply choose the next week tasks. You see what is going on this week. You don't need to discover it or rely on what you get from your department leaders. Everything is there. And you can simply auto-schedule. In a matter of minutes, you will get a plan. You can refine it with the department leaders, see what are the bottleneck or special events and issues for next week. But again, it takes less than a couple of hours, and you distribute it again with a single click. You don't need to email it, you don't need to print it, you don't need to put it in the shop floor, you don't need to send everyone the
same system.
Same system, everything is in the same system, everyone has access to the same system, and the visibility is increased.
And what used to take 3 days can take 1 or 2 hours.
Exactly. And it is more updated, because when you start a routine 3 days ago, by the time you get to publish it, things might have changed. Okay, when you start a plan an hour ago, when you publish it, everything is updated. Okay, and no matter which solution you use, papers, Excels, or even advanced AI software, at the end of the planning process, you have a plan for next week.
I really like this cartoon because we all think that our production plans are solid, and then comes next week, and a machine breaks or a person did not arrive in the morning, and this is the reality. So that's beautiful.
You publish your plan, but then reality comes knocking on your door, and things start to go wrong. So some possible unplanned events that you're all familiar with: breakdown and stoppages, a machine just stop or breakdown, a demand changes, you need more from that part or less from that part, rush orders, one of your major clients needs an order now for the next 2 days, for the next week. We see it all the time.
We also know stories like airplane on ground, AOG, where they have to make that part and then they stop everything and simply produce that part.
New prioritization from your current workload, missing tools, we all know it. Personnel shortages, as Amir mentioned earlier, an operator called in sick for the next shift and you need to adjust. And of course, material shortages. So we'll touch more on how to address unplanned event, but let's go back to the agenda. The next topic is how can AI help?
Yeah, I mean, this is a great question. We hear a lot about AI tools, definitely the ChatGPT and last discussions. We hear all the time about how can AI help people make their work quicker, more efficient. And the big question here is whether we can come up with some advanced tools that can help the planners and the schedulers in order to make their plans and scheduling, which is quite a complex task. If a software can make it easier and help them to come up with an optimized plan.
Yeah, so definitely yes. First, help the planner produce more optimal and free some time for the planner and achieve more optimized plan for the entire business. Again, we have a lot of automatic scheduling system today. Some of them are SaaS solutions, software as a service on the cloud. A few are AI-based, but from our experience and from my experience, it is important to make sure that any solution you choose takes into consideration all these elements, such as your work order, your workload. This is the demand set you need for the next scheduling horizon, your human capacity and availability, materials and tools capacity, and again, availability, business rules and goals, which sets the entire business rhythm, and of course, your digital twin, your station and shift base.
I really like this list because it shows you a complete list. I mean, if you make a plan and you do not take into consideration your human capacity, then obviously that plan could be optimal, on paper, in theory, but when Monday comes and people start to work on the shift, then obviously you cannot execute the schedule and it's not practical, right? So you have to consider work orders, human capacity, the tools, the material, the business rules, the shifts, and it's really about
each and every element
taking into consideration all those elements.
Yeah, exactly. If you take out one element, so your next plan will be less optimized, and you might encounter pitfalls. Because if you, for example, miss the materials or the human capacity, and next week you're missing one operator, the plan is not working anything. Got you. Of course, our AI solution takes all of these into consideration and output an optimized plan that looks something like this. You can immediately see from a single from one view everything that the planner and the production manager needs to see. You have your KPIs, your due date compliance, you have all your stations, you have your tasks arranged in a Gantt view. You can immediately see what is going on, in your shop floor.
So if you add tasks, you see those KPI at the top change accordingly.
Accordingly, of course.
What are the colors?
The green one are the completed one, and the
Completed operations
tasks, yes.
Okay.
And the blue one are the one that are in progress. The gray one are the one that's scheduled and not yet started. You see some maintenance in orange as well. And again, by a glimpse, you can see immediately what is going on in your shop floor. You don't need to go down to the shop floor, ask your department leader what is going on, what is their status. You don't need to leave your office.
Is this needs installation, or it's cloud and this is simple?
It's a cloud-based software as a service. Any browser, any client from anywhere in the world. You can sit at the headquarters, see what's going on, and you can be on the shop floor or on the top floor. Everyone can have access to the same view.
Does it support like drag and drop? Is it easy to use?
Yeah, and we'll show it in the live demo.
In the demo, great.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so I would like to cover some of the production scheduler benefits. First of all, you want your solution to automatically produce optimal scheduling, which is aligned with your business goal and is done with a click of a button. You want real-time production progress visibility, fully synchronized with your shop floor, as we saw earlier, and I will show it in the live demo. Of course, you want to capture before all your organization knowledge and best practices, allowing your planner to focus on his efforts on what is important for him. You want to be able to react in real time to any unexpected event, but yet guarded by an AI for compliance. And you want the system to be goal-based, to allow you to plan and schedule, fully configurable by the business or by your planner. And of course, the last one, you want the system or the solution to allow you to scale and maximize production efficiency and resource utilization.
You mentioned here capture organization knowledge, which is extremely important because we know that in many cases, one planner or two planners, they have everything in their head. And once they go on vacation, or the organization is clueless. So yeah. Can you explain more about that?
Yeah, a lot of time when we come to a new factory, we see that the small things, like what are the overtime allowance, what are the station capacity, which operator does what task, all these small stuff that are in their heads, and you want to be able to capture it in the software. So you want to be relying on a single operator or planner, and we do that in our systems.
So the software both helps the planner to basically create very quickly good schedules, optimize schedules, but also to capture the organization.
It also helps the planner itself. We are not here to replace the planner. Once you capture all the organization knowledge, the planner planning task become more easier.
I see.
You don't need to remember that this station overtime is 2 hours, this operator does only this station overtime is less.
So the software and the planner are one team working together. Okay.
Exactly. Just as we see in ChatGPT and any AI system.
Yeah, it cannot be completely sufficient.
So we talked about unplanned event, and we know this is it's a great deal to respond and recover an unplanned event. So let us quickly cover how you can recover and respond to such scenario with the help of our system or any AI system. So let's say that in 10:30, one of your operator notified the planner about a machine breakdown, something that happens all the time in any factory. 5 minutes later, the planner simply ran out of schedule to reassign the relevant tasks that are in question. We can do some manual adjustment, refining of that specific plan. It usually takes 5 to 10 minutes. We can approve the new schedule with a supervisor, maybe the production manager. And again, in less than an hour, we can dispatch an approved plan for the shop floor. And we know these unplanned events, such as breakdown or stoppages, could sometimes stop entire shift, entire day, just to recover. It sometimes takes hours just to understand what you can do with the affected tasks. And now you can do it with a click of a button in less than an hour.
This is impressive.
Okay. We'd like to share some success stories from our customers. And I'm talking about one of the leading aerospace manufacturing in the industry. And I would like to cover some of the challenges and the outcomes that we achieved. So of course, the challenges was, as we see it in any factory, they were heavily relying on manual processes, papers, Excels, emails and stuff like this. Of course, leading to lack of visibility, because when you dispatch something with paper, you lose the visibility on that.
So they were using ERP and MES systems that are digitized. However, to complement that, they were using a lot of papers, and the planner was using an Excel sheet to make the weekly plan.
But at the end of the weekly planning, they were simply printing and
dispatching to the stations. Okay.
And even if they were emailing, then again you will lose contact with your plan once you email it. And of course, all of this led to low resource utilization. After we deployed our system, in a matter of weeks of using our system, we saw a 15% increase in work order execution, which is not trivial, and I will cover it in the next slide. We saw 100% production visibility and of course predictability. Everything, as we said, is there in a single point of view, available for all stakeholders, whether it's an operator, a team leader, or the planner, or the managers in the top floor. And again, this led to 10 to 15% increase in throughput and 5% increase in due date compliance.
That's impressive, and that's apples to apples without adding machines or employees.
Yeah, exactly.
With the same machines, tools, workers.
Exactly.
Just being more efficient, just executing on the plan in a better way.
Exactly, and this is why I really like this slide. Summarize it. We saw, and actually I see it all the time. When you're using Excel, the Excel spreadsheet absorb anything you throw at it. Okay, so let's say you have 10 work orders for next week. You throw it on the Excel, it will absorb it. Next week you'll have 20. You throw it on the Excel will absorb it. So they were saying that the assignment rate is 100% because they simply schedule everything. But the execution rate was 75%. This is what's important. Once we introduced our software and they started to schedule with our solution, we saw that the assignment rate was down to 95%. Okay, so, and this is a good thing.
How can you explain that? Because the software is assigning each task to a specific station, to a specific tool, to a specific person.
Exactly. It takes into consideration all the elements that we mentioned earlier. And basically, the assignment is based on your capacity and availability. If you are not able to assign 100% of the workload, of the demand set, you probably don't have the capacity to do it. Okay? But the most important number is once they followed this plan, they were able to execute 85% of the workload. So this showed an increase of 15% in throughput. And this is amazing because we didn't change anything in the shop floor. We didn't add machines. We didn't add operators. We didn't add a single tool. We didn't work more materials. We didn't change anything in the business or in the rules. Nothing, just by following a more optimized and compact schedule.
So I think that the throughput is one great benefit to be able to produce 15% more parts. Think about it, it's quite amazing. But also the predictability, the fact that you assign a task in the beginning of the week and you know that by 95% you will execute it and you will finish it.
Exactly. The 5% that weren't scheduled, you can take action and measure to deal with.
And you know in advance that
you
cannot
not be able, you need to contact your customers. You need to do something about it.
Or add a shift or do something about it. Yeah,
exactly. Okay, so I think it's a good time to move to the live demo. Let me just quickly switch to the live system. Vicky, you can't see my screen now, right?
Hi, correct.
Okay, let me share my screen again. Vicky, can you see my screen now?
Definitely.
Okay. Vicky, just please confirm that you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see the manager report.
Great, thank you, Vicky. Okay, so this is basically the TPO, our solution. As you can see, it's a web-based solution.
So this is a Microsoft browser.
Exactly. You can see that the first thing that the planner or the operator see is the manager report, a digital twin representation of the factory. We have a lot of data and information here, and we will cover more in the next webinar in the series.
So each box here represents a real station or storage area or a location at the factory.
Exactly.
And because different factories would have different number of stations, this is of course completely configurable.
Exactly.
Do you need coding to configure it, or it's done quickly by the
everything software? Is quickly applicable by our software, by the software, and by the customer themselves. They can add and remove a station if they like.
So we see here a real production line with supplier, receiving areas, freezers for storage, defrosting areas, cutting stations, right?
Exactly. Now let me quickly move to the scheduler. This is the production scheduler module in our system. I like to call it the desktop for the planner.
Now, can any user at the factory enter this screen, or is this reserved only to the planners?
It can be managed by policies, but usually the planner will use it.
So this is the planner's view, managed by the organization policy.
Exactly.
Only people with access could reach this planning view.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And you already familiar with this screen, and you also know the color code. So we can see here that we have the green ones, the ones that are completed, the blue ones, the ones that are started. We see where we are at today, and we see that the production is following according to the plan. We can immediately see that something is going on with some of the tasks. We can focus on that task and see its predecessors and successor tasks, and see that previous tasks completed, but some of them didn't. This is why the layup, in that case, the layup operation for today is delaying, and we can expect that the next operation will probably have some issue. We can start thinking about how to address this issue.
So the Gantt shows the planner almost in real time when a previous operation of CAT was delayed, and it's delaying delay of operation. So you see everything in real time, and it's like a control room where you have access to all the information. You don't have to call them, you don't have to go down and ask questions, and it saves a lot of time for the planner and for the factory.
Exactly. This single click that I just did, that took me a second, usually took minutes, going down to the department, to the layup department, asking them why this layup operation didn't start according to plan this morning. You can immediately see the root cause. The cutting operation probably had some issues, and you can understand and take actions in order to be ready for the next step for queuing.
Okay. Now, this is the Gantt, and on the left you have all the stations and the assignment of tasks. What is that view on the bottom which says all tasks? And
so again, as I said earlier, this is the desktop, the main desktop, the main tool for the planner. So here we see the Gantt for this week. We can also see all the tasks that are derived from our work orders. You can simply sort and filter all of these fields. Let's, for example, let's focus on these two programs, the 350 and the Dreamliner, and we can immediately see the focus on the Gantt for these programs. So I just filter, and I can now focus. You see, everything is grayed out. I can now see only the tasks that are related to these programs. And I can also focus on the high priority task out of this program. So let's see. I simply enter another filter, and now you see highlighted only the work orders that are part of these programs and are in high priority. And we see, and we can see that we are on track. Everything is moving according to the plan. We need to address this issue that we saw earlier, but we are on it. We see it. We don't need to be informed by anyone.
So the first step is to enter the system to see what is the progress of the last shifts and where do we stand. I guess that the next task of the planner would be to make the plan for next week.
Schedule, exactly. And this takes me to the next week. So let's focus on the work order from next week. I will use the filtering system again.
I see that the user experience is very similar. If you know how to operate Excel or emails, Gmail, you can simply use the software, and it's not too complicated.
Exactly. You don't need special skills, nothing. Just the same thing the same skills that you're using for the Office suite or Gmail or any other application. So I've just filtered the work orders for next week. I can simply select them all, and I see that I have around 70 tasks out of these work orders, and simply hitting auto schedule. Again, AI knows the usual week starts and ends that I'm using, so it's already suggesting the next week start. I can, of course, change it, but I don't need to, and simply hitting auto schedule. That's it.
Okay. Well, it takes a couple of seconds to calculate the schedule. Can you explain a little bit about goal-based plan and how the system basically prioritizes and takes into consideration all those goals that could be contradicting?
Yeah, of course. So as we saw all the elements earlier, we just managed to schedule
a few seconds
in
and
a few
seconds done.
Exactly. And you can see the schedule for next week.
Nice.
This schedule, as Amir pointed, is based on the goals that we've set. For example, I set the priority #1 goal to be minimize make span. So the schedule that I received will be affected by this goals priority. But for any reason, if I would like to change the priority and bring another goal to be the top priority, for example, maximize the autoclave utilization, I will receive a different schedule based on that goal system. And we wanted to make it simple for the user. We're not using weights or numbering. We simply use prioritization and simply drag and drop. And if later, if we will have some more time, I can show it. I'll show how to use the goal system. So we have a plan for next week. Let me go back to this week so I can show you how to follow or execute the plan. So,
by the way, a quick question. You're saying that this schedule now is ready.
Yes.
How do you make the dispatch? Do you need to print anything?
Nothing.
Or
the moment
everything
I received the new plan from the AI, it's there for anyone to use to see.
If you go to a station,
if I go to a station, let's go to this station, for example. I can see the to-do list, what we already published last week. But I can go to next week, let's say. And this is the to-do list that is based on what we just scheduled.
So when the cut and kit operator comes in the morning, those are the tasks that are waiting for him.
Exactly.
And if an hour before there's a change, he will see that he doesn't need to reprint plans. He doesn't need
already
to,
populated there.
Everything is digital. Everything is in one system.
Yeah, exactly. And we are not expecting your operators to use the Gantt. This is for the planners, for the managers, for the top floor.
Most definitely, they will use the station.
The operator needs to be focused on his to-do list in his station and in his shift. It doesn't need to be concerned about the other stations or other shifts. So let's go back to today and continue to see how easy it is for the operator to report his progress. So I can simply, let's show the completed task, if any, yes. So we can see that one task is completed, one is in progress and it's probably lating. And I can simply select the one that I want to report that they were started as planned, 2 tasks succeeded. And I can say that this one is completed as planned. It will all be reflected immediately on the scheduler Gantt. So let me quickly go back to the scheduler.
That's great. So you both take care on the schedule, but also on the collaboration between the planners and the shop floor.
And that's a good point because you can do it from both ways. So let's go back to today. We see here are the tasks that I just reported. But if for some reason the planner wants to update a certain task, you can do it. Simply right-clicking and complete it as planned. And now it will be reflected again, both ways, to the planner and to the operator. It will be removed from the to-do list.
That's great.
I think we have a little bit of time, or we should move to the Q&A.
Wait, if you want to show another 1 or 2 things quickly, then it's possible. We have time.
Yeah. Okay. So going back to next week, again, everything is drag and droppable, very intuitive. Again, you see all the progress, all the relationship between, and the AI is guarding. You see, I just did something that is not valid by the business rules that were set when we captured these business rules. The system let me do it, but it is telling me, hey, watch out. You're out of the shift definition. Something will not.
So when the planner makes a manual modification, first of all, it's possible to manually modify and further optimize the plan.
Exactly.
And when you're doing something, the system tells you warns you if basically you
like in that example, the system let me assign in a non-working hours, but it's telling me that this assignment is invalid.
So maybe the decision of the planner at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
No, this is really impressive. And I thank you, David, for the great demonstration. We
was my
see
pleasure.
In live, you know, how to take hundreds of work order and in 2 or 3 seconds, you know, schedule it to all the stations. And basically now I think it's time to move to our Q&A session. I already see here on my screen, you know, the questions popping up.
Okay, I would love to answer some questions.
The first question is regarding the what industries the production scheduler could serve. We definitely see here aerospace, composites, and what other industries basically are you know this product can support.
So you're right. The focus that we saw today was aerospace, composite, but not only. Also metals, also medical devices. The scheduler is not focused on one industry.
Machining production.
Machining productions, exactly.
Okay. So basically, it's open to a variety of industries where you have those stations and work orders coming in, operations.
Exactly.
And
at the end, a task is a task. It's derived from the time that it takes to do the task. It's affected by materials, affected by your personnel, by your tools, by your station availability. And this is where our AI software excels.
Okay, that's great. Could you please elaborate on integration with ERP and MES systems?
Yeah, of course. Our system easily integrates with a variety of MES and ERP systems like SAP and Microsoft. It's done easily by APIs. Actually, I think you can elaborate on the partnership we have.
Yeah, I mean, we are SAP official partner, Partner Edge and cloud partners. So we have that tight integration between SAP, whether this is ERP, S4HANA, etc., and Plataine,
yeah.
Definitely, and any other ERP system. So it's not limited to.
I can say that from my experience,
SAP.
In the past, it usually took weeks and months to integrate between systems. But now, when we're using a SaaS solution and APIs, it takes a matter of days, and you're integrated with your specific solution.
So you're bringing the work orders.
Exactly, the work orders, the parts.
Send back the progress of
exactly.
Manufacturing.
We can also receive progress if it is monitored in ERPs or in MES systems. We're working collaboratively with.
I have another question related to the question from the audience. When you showed earlier in your demo that the operator can log in our system and you know start an operation and complete an operation and report, could that come from the MES? Because in some factories it's done in the MES.
Yeah, most definitely. It works both ways. Okay, we can also receive data from these systems. We can propagate data, and we can receive data that is already there in their MESs. Usually in MES system, the factories are already reporting progress and have the progress, and we can get this data from this.
So in any case, the operator reports one time.
Exactly. We don't want them to report in two.
No double reporting. Got it. Another question, you mentioned about company goals. What goals can I configure in the system?
Yeah, we have 5 goals. You can minimize your max span. You can maximize max span, the length of the plan, of the schedule.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all those workers are finished by this date?
Yeah, it's more amorphic. So you're just telling the AI system, give me the best plan where the max span is the shortest.
The shortest. Exactly. Okay, got it.
Exactly. You can maximize your stations utilization. You can maximize your autoclave utilization. You can maximize the due date compliance.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
And can you prioritize? Can you say this is more important for me?
As I said, we saw in our research that is difficult to put weights on each goal. We simply introduced a simple method of prioritizing. Tell us what is your top priority, your second priority, and the AI will take it into consideration.
Okay, that's great. Another questions we have here. Here's a good one. How are human capacity and availability are supported?
Okay, so once we accomplished your or build your digital twin, it's another layer of that digital twin. You have your shift manager, and in your shift manager, you simply have your human capacity in and availability for each shift in each station. And on the other end, as part of your part, BOM and bill of process, we capture the personnel needed to accomplish this task or any other task in terms of minimum and maximum. Then the AI takes into consideration these two parameters, and again, put it on the Gantt, put it on the schedule, and it's very easy and very simple to adjust. Simply roll out your weekly shift layout, and the AI follows it.
That's great. Do you support work centers with regards to the human capacity?
Exactly. Yeah, we have the work center as part again of the digital twin, where we set the work center capacity, and on top we have the shift manager that sets the human capacity for each station work center.
We have a question related to the previous questions about ERP. Which ERP is it possible to connect with? And basically the answer is any ERP with an API system that has the connectivity, and most of the ERP systems that I'm aware of, they have it. So the answer is every ERP system could be connected. We have experience with a lot of companies that are bringing in the work orders from the ERP. And with our many customers, we didn't see any problems.
Even the bespoke one that are tailor-made for your business, as long as they support API connection, we can communicate with them.
Okay, that's great. Next question. What is the difference between the autoclave utilization and station utilization?
Okay, so this is an important question. Mainly for the composites and aerospace. When you try to maximize the station utilization, you do it based on the availability. You simply have your station availability, and you want to maximize the workload or the task that you assign in that available time. On the other end, in autoclaves, you don't want to maximize it, but rather maximize the autoclave capacity per run, okay? Because the cost of running each session. So you want it to be more compact, and you want it to be as full as you can when you assign tasks to the autoclave. And we have a special algorithm inside our AI that deal with autoclave utilization optimization.
And I guess this is not only for autoclaves. I mean, if you have a paint station or stations that would act very similar, you don't want to operate autoclaves or paint stations, half full. You want to maximize the efficiency.
We can take this tactic.
This tactic would be used in many other stations and processes. Okay, got you. Next question I have here is, after how many weeks you start to see benefits, results, ROI?
In the case study that we showed, it was in about 3 to 4 weeks that we also that we managed to see the numbers, the numbers that we talked about. the 15% increase in throughput.
So very quickly, after 3 to 4
Yeah.
weeks, you start to see the benefits. You start to see better utilization and higher capacity.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
great. All right. I see that we have some more questions in our Q&A box, but you know, I look at the time, and we need to finish soon. So we'll make sure we send you by email answers to all your questions. Basically, following this webinar, you'll receive a recorded version of the webinar, and you may forward it to your colleagues or watch it again. We'd love to hear your feedback, so you're welcome to drop us an email. Vicky, if you could display both our emails, and of course, if you would like to have some more information and maybe a deep dive demonstration, we only had 10 or 15 minutes today. Feel free to send us a short email, and we'll schedule another session, an online session. We can further discuss some more experience that we have with the industry, with customers, and we'd love to share it with you guys. So I'd like to wrap up and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. It's been very interesting. I certainly learned a lot, and I hope that the audience learned a lot too. And thanks again for our great audience for joining us today. We hope to see you in our next webinars. Those will be around material management and material receiving, and how to ramp up production using the smart factory. So stay tuned. We'll send you some more details soon. And thank you.
Thank you.